Mac and Perry in the place. Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry go live to create. Da-na-na-na. Mac and Perry invite you to stay.
Hello and welcome once again to TELUS STORYHIVE's On Location in Lethbridge. My name is Daniel J. Perryman. I'm a local theatre and filmmaker here in Southern Alberta, Treaty 7, Métis Nation Region 3. And this is my co-host,
Michael Bartz. I make short films and podcasts about environmental sustainability. I'm also in Lethbridge. And this is
Arianna Richardson, an artist from Lethbridge, Alberta.
Love it. Yes. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and also invite us into your space. We're here at the McNally Community Center. I got that right?
Yeah.
Perfect. In your studio. We're going to dive into our interview with you and just kind of hear a bit more about your artistic journey and the stuff you've done. But I do want to read a bio from you just because you've done a lot of awesome stuff. So for people at home there, Arianna Richardson is a sculptor and performance artist based in Lethbridge, Alberta, whose work has been exhibited across Canada. Her practice revolves around collecting discarded materials and putting them to use in absurd, highly decorative sculptures. Arianna has her BFA in Studio Arts from our very own University of Lethbridge. And she has her MFA in sculpture from NSCAD University in Halifax. On top of her artistic practice, she not only works as lead preparator at the Southern Alberta Art Gallery, shout out to SAG, but also as a sessional instructor at the University of Lethbridge. You are a high-achieving individual, is what I got from doing some research on you, which is awesome. So, yeah, it's a real privilege to be here with you and in your studio space.
Thank you.
So I guess if we consider your artistic journey, if we go like as far back as we can, what would be an example of like your oldest kind of memory of engaging with art, either doing it or just experiencing it?
Well, when I was a little kid, I always did crafts with my mom. Thanks, Mom.
Yeah.
And I have this really vivid memory of kind of the first time I was really proud of making something. And I had, those little like plastic step stool things. So I had one of those in my room for whatever reason. And I had a bunch of Play-Doh and I drew a scene basically with Play-Doh on top of this stool. It's like a girl and, sky and flowers. And I just remember feeling so proud about that. And it's in my mind, so it makes me almost tear up.
Yeah.
So cheesy.
No.
But it was really, I don't know. I've always got a lot of joy out of making things.
Yeah, and like, was that something that your folks like encouraged or like fostered in you, or was it just something you were just drawn to?
I think I was drawn to it. My mom is really crafty. She's got like a crafty streak. And they encouraged it a bit. Like they didn't have a lot of money. So I think, giving me some paper and scissors and glue and being like, have at her was, easy for them to do.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice. And what would be an example of something after that? Maybe after you'd grown up a little bit?
I think in high school, I really got into taking the art classes. And then I had a show. They have like the Arts Alive and Well in schools here in Lethbridge. It's like a long-standing relationship with the school districts and the SAG. I think it's like 40 years or something. They do it every year. So my work was included in that. I think I was like in grade 3. And then later in high school, I had a few pieces in the show and I felt pretty awesome. It was probably my first time even going to the SAG and I had a show there. I was like, this is amazing. I'm so cool.
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember what did that feel like at that age? Do you recall like that feeling? What was that like?
It was exciting. It was, it was like, wow, maybe this is something I'm good at. Because I was never good at sports. I was always good at school, but that's not very exciting to be like, oh, well, I can do math. But I was never good at sports or anything like that. Too shy for drama or choir or anything like that. So, yeah, art making was just where I found my jam.
Yeah. And that sounds like, would that have been the first example of you kind of sharing your art publicly, whereas the first piece that you made with the Play-Doh you said was like just for your folks and yourself,
Totally.
I'm assuming?
Yeah, it was. I think it probably was the first time I had shown work to other people and had other people kind of validate it in that way.
Yeah, nice. And do you feel like any of the themes, like even from the first piece or that piece, that you are still kind of play with to this day?
Probably not. There's probably some things carrying forward, like colors, and the piece at the SAG was like a really intricately beaded painting. So kind of using sewing is a common theme.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what do you think the value is of those kind of programs? Like, I don't know, if you had to try and sum it up, like what do you think you got out of that, and like the value of a program like that is?
I think the value of it is like immeasurable for a lot of students. And I, as the lead preparator at SAG now, I'm like putting the children's art up on the walls, and I just every time remember, like I was in the show and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah.
So I imagine those kids all feel the same way, and it's a nice thing. And to think of it being like 40 years long.
Part of that legacy and creating that history. Yeah. I mean, what is that like? We're jumping forward a bit there, but like, what is that like for you as an adult with your own artistic practice, and like kind of on the other side of that experience that you had when you were younger and putting up those pieces? Yeah. Yeah,
it's just really full circle. It just feels really grounded, like in this place in Lethbridge, because it all, happened here. And I just feel really fortunate to have such a great arts community here, and I get to be part of it.
Yeah. Nice. And you grew up in Lethbridge, is that right? Yeah. So I guess like one of the questions I had for you is like, what role do you feel Lethbridge has played? Like either like literally, like geographically in your artistic journey or otherwise? And especially when you were younger, like were you like, this place is crazy? Or was there a point where you're like, there's not a lot happening here? What was that like?
Well, I think I kind of hated Lethbridge when I was young. Okay. And I was like, this place is boring, there's nothing going on, blah, 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 but I've come really to appreciate Lethbridge. I think the art community is really strong here because it's small, and you kind of have to support each other and, go out to things that are happening, because if you don't go, maybe they won't happen anymore. So if you want nice things in your city, you have to support them, right?
Yeah.
So I think that attitude is really strong here, and people are excited to see other people doing things. It's not like I'm maybe in a big city, it's more like a jaded attitude. Here it's like still nice.
Yeah. Can't afford to be jaded, maybe. Like,
And geographically, like it's a beautiful place to live. I love living here. The sky is incredible. The sky's been really an inspiration for my practice lately, like over the last year. And it's like a treat every single day to look up and see something different throughout the day.
Wonderful. So like, when you were a teenager there in high school, I think you said, with that first show at SAG, do you feel like that would you classify that as like the start of your artistic journey or practice? Or, what came next after that then?
Well, I was like, I have to go to university, so, family pressures or whatever to do that. So I was like, well, I'll do art history, because that maybe seems like it could end up in a job. So I went to the U of L and started doing art history as a degree. And as part of that, you have to take a couple of studio classes. And then when I did that, I found like I just loved it so much more. And I was like, maybe I could actually do this. Maybe I could actually just take art and not have to do the art history part where you have to go to class at 9 a.m.
Your first show there at the Trianon, you mentioned like you kind of made that from nothing, and it was like really from your first kind of taste of that. What do you remember from that? What can you tell me about that piece?
Well, I was really into collecting things, which I still am. So I found this like crazy piece in the alley, a wire mattress, like a coil mattress, but it was just the wires. Everything else was gone for some reason. Like it wasn't burnt or anything. I don't know what happened to it. It was just like this coil structure, queen size or double or something. And I don't know what, I just had some sort of vision about it. And I was like, I'm going to stuff this with tinsel strands. And so then I just spent months collecting tinsel strands, like everywhere, like thousands, millions, so many. I was really proud of that piece. It just felt and I still am. Like, it's at the Slice. It's hanging above the dance floor at the Slice. And it's whenever I'm there and I'm dancing under that thing, I'm like, this is my masterpiece. And I'm still obsessed with it. So that piece for me in that whole show was just, I look fondly upon it.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm going to look for that the next time I go to the Slice. Oh my gosh. And then, so this idea of like recycling and like finding all these resources, it sounds like that came in right away there, right? Because that was going to be a question, is like, when did that become a thing for you? Was it always a thing, like even in high school, or was that kind of like your first, real like shot at integrating that into your practice and your work?
It's been there from the start, basically. I think like growing up with not any money, it's like we shopped at the thrift store, and I was always like so embarrassed about it and wanted to like make it look like I didn't shop at the thrift store. And then eventually, I don't know what happened, but I just like found the vintage clothes section. I was like, wow, these clothes are wicked. Like these are so fun and exciting, and it's only available here. So I got really into that and really into the thrift store and all kind of the treasures you can find there, and just thinking of the material history and how unique everything is, and thinking like who owned it. Got really into that at like high school age. And then just as an art student, like not having much money to find materials, like building canvases and buying paint is expensive. So I was like, well, I'm just going to start looking in the alley, looking in the garbage, see what I can find. I've always been really intrigued by objects, and I maybe don't even know why, but I just feel really drawn to something, and that like the reason why or the purpose of it, or it's where it ends up, kind of makes itself apparent after time.
What came next after that?
What came next? I continued to have shows, and I was really like unstoppable in that way. I was like, I just want to show my work and make stuff, and kind of trying to like exist outside of just the university system. Like I took 7 years to do my BFA. I took it really slow. I always worked and, you know, partied. Of course. So I didn't do like 5 classes a semester for 4 years. I just, you know, did it at my own pace.
You also received a number of like scholarships and awards. What could you say about that? Because I think that's a really valuable skill, and like applying for grants, like even now. So like, you know, what advice might you have for maybe emerging artists that are like, how do I get money to do this thing, or just keep their eye out for stuff? Like, what would you say?
You have to get used to being rejected. It's like, it's never fun, but it's like 99% rejection. So, you know, you got to fortify. There's so many resources out there now compared to when I first started out. There were quite a few that you could tap into, but there's a lot of resources now with like calls for submissions to artist-run centers and galleries and grants and public art calls and art festivals. So just applying to that, it's like, it doesn't hurt to apply. Once you get your little application package, you just tweak it for each one, send it away and hope. And, you know, I always just expect to be rejected. And then when I get accepted to something, I'm super excited.
Totally.
And yeah, I apply for tons of stuff all the time. And that's like how I've gotten every show, how I've gotten every award or any money.
If we moved along, what would come next? Would it be your MFA, or was there something in between?
In between, I had a baby, had my kid, which was fun. My sweetie, my greatest project. He doesn't like it if I call him that. But yeah, I had a kid. I had like a garden and chickens, and like just living life, doing stuff. And it was kind of like, I didn't think I would get into my MFA right away when I applied. I applied to like 4 places with the dream of going to NSCAD in Halifax. I always wanted to go there because a lot of my mentors at the U of L had gone there, and I just, you know, wanted to live on the coast and blah, blah, blah. So yeah, when we moved out there, my son was 16 months old, so he was just a baby. But I didn't really anticipate getting in. So I thought, I was like, well, I'll apply, do the process, see how that goes, see how it feels, and then probably won't get in, so then I'll apply again. But then I did get in, so it kind of like called my bluff. I was like, okay, here we go.
Nice. And yeah, what was that process like? An MFA program? Yeah, what was it like?
It wasn't what I expected it to be. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird to go to a new school, one that's only art focused, because I was just in an art program in a broad university, right? So it was like different vibe. And just the community there is different, not like Lethbridge, where Lethbridge, everyone's like really inclusive and, you know, I'm not trying to bad talk Halifax. It's a great place and it was really fun, but it just was different. I thought it would be like, you know, I'd have all these friends and we'd all like bond and have this great time. And it wasn't totally like that because I had like a toddler at home.
Sure.
And so I would go home and, you know, do that stuff. And I couldn't just like stay in the studio all night with my peers and hang out or whatever. But it was great. I met a lot of interesting people and I met a lot of people I didn't anticipate meeting. Like I went in with the sculpture program, but I ended up working a lot with this woman who was in the craft department and like craft history. And I just really clicked with her and she was the best, Sandra Alfoldi. And she just like opened my mind to all these theories and all these ideas that I had never maybe been exposed to in a way. Like I had kind of thought them and didn't realize other people were also thinking them. And then it was awesome.
Nice. And then you mentioned that some of your like professors from university had gone there as well. And I guess one of the thoughts that comes to mind from that is just like, you know, like just that idea of like following in people's footsteps, but also carving your own path. Like, I don't know, but yeah. Do you feel as though you were following in footsteps and carving your own path? What's the distinction there for you, if any?
I'm not sure. I think it's kind of like an iconic art school in Canada. It's like maybe the iconic art school historically. So I was like, well, I got to go there and see what that's all about. Following in their footsteps, kind of being like, well, it formed these people into the awesome artists that they are. So like potentially that could help me too. Just like thinking of the lore of the school basically and being like attracted by that.
Right on. And then, yeah, you mentioned kind of coming out of that program and kind of maybe returning back to just like doing the things that you're drawn to and not having to contextualize everything maybe. So yeah, what came next after you got that?
I really kind of leaned into a lot of performance art projects after and kind of during the MFA and then after. So I did quite a few of those. I made this amazing 10-foot long garbage can. Like I wove this front panel, built the top. It kind of comes apart modularly. I had a couple of installations of it in Lethbridge, one in Galt Gardens downtown, and then one down in the river bottom at the, I can't think of the name of
Helen
It was near Helen Schuler, but it's like by the playground, there's a picnic shelter. It has a name, but I can't think of it right now. So down there, so then I did these like week-long performances where I would pick up trash in the area and like categorize it all and document it all. And then also do surveys and talk to people about trash and their feelings about trash and kind of different random questions. So I did that. What else?
Yeah, I mean, tell me a bit more about performance art. It's not something I'm a performer myself, but like what makes or constitutes performance art for you?
I think it's just like, to me, it's like activated art. I've kind of used it as a way to like I go in this character as the hobbyist. So then it's kind of like there's a sculptural component and then there's me like activating it with my actions. And like, usually it's absurd, kind of almost clownish. So I went to this performance art festival in Seattle and I realized like I have a different view of performance art than maybe a lot of people that were more like theater-based-ish, where it is more like about the human expression and where mine is kind of more removed and it's more like about society or something. I don't know. So it's always been centered around garbage and trash and I don't know, fun, trying to just like create a weird situation to like put people off guard and then talk to them about waste and just see how people are feeling.
Mm-hmm. One question we do try to ask everybody is just how has creativity changed your everyday life?
I wouldn't be who I am without creativity. I try and do it every day in my cooking, in the way I dress, in the way I do everything in the world. Creativity is lifeblood for me. I think it's so valuable, especially now. I think it's becoming more and more valuable in our society to just be able to create something out of nothing or just add your own personal spin on something. I think it's important, and I hope more people, pursue creativity because it is really rewarding. Even if you don't get accolades and whatever, it's rewarding just on a personal day-to-day level. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I love it.
Yeah. And that's a beautiful sentiment to end off on. So thank you so much for your time and energy. This has been TELUS Storyhives On Location in Lethbridge. I'm Daniel J. Perryman. This is my co-host,
Michael Bartz, and this is
Arianna Richardson. Goodbye.
Yes. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to TELUS Storyhives On Location, Lethbridge, here at the McNally Community Center. I'm Michael. I make short films about the environment. I also make podcasts. And this is my co-host.
I'm Daniel J. Perryman, local theatre and filmmaker here in Lethbridge, Alberta. And today we have
Arianna Richardson, a sculptor and artist from Lethbridge.
Nice. Yeah, well, I really enjoyed your segments with Daniel, learning a bit about you as a person and, of course, your artistic journey. And I'm really excited for the showcase portion. We're going to kind of talk about, the pieces and maybe the stories behind them or how you do it, why you do it, stuff like that. So it'll be great. I think it's probably good to talk about it. Like we've been sitting on this, what looks like kind of a cushion, and we have these pillows here. But they're not just any ordinary pillows. This is art. We're sitting on art right now.
Yeah.
Maybe just tell me a bit about these pillows.
Okay. So this giant one I call the Blob. It was a piece I made for a show at CASA in 2022 or 1. I don't know. So it's filled with 5 years worth of plastic waste and artwork made with plastic that I didn't want anymore, but I couldn't throw away for reasons of guilt and whatever. Obsessive collection. So I made this as a gallery seating for people to kind of come into the gallery and sit on while they look at the art. I love to make art that people can touch and interact with, because to me, that's always what I want to do when I'm at a gallery. And I think it just takes away that feeling of art is something that we never engage with physically. We can never touch it. It's too special. I just find that stifling. So I made all these pillows for my most recent show in Calgary at the New Gallery. There's 21 of them. They're all different and made using my knitting machine. It's like a vintage object I've learned how to use. And they're all filled with plastic waste. So they all make different sounds. I don't know if that will capture on video, but that one's a good one.
Yeah.
They're all different. And the idea was they sit on a gigantic pillow that I made that's 6 feet by 7 feet. It's heart-shaped, and it is made with my old coil mattress and plastic waste that I collected from my job at the SAG as a preparator, like bubble wrap and shrink wrap and stuff like that, and thrift store fabric. It's my greatest masterpiece to date, I would say. I think that about everything though. But it had these 21 pillows on top of it. So then in the gallery, people could come and sit on the bed and play with the pillows and kind of just experience them more physically than just looking at them, because it is important that you can pick them up. They're all different weights. Some of them have beads. Some of them have fuzzy texture. It's all yarn from the thrift store and plastic from the SAG and from my life as well. Clean plastic. I always keep clean plastic packaging because there's so much plastic waste that we encounter that is not even dirty or gross, and it just goes in the garbage. And I try not to do that. So I've been able to fill multiple objects with all the plastic I've collected. So yeah, that's these.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, and I love that idea of just like interacting with the art too, right? That it's because I had that experience like everyone at a gallery. You just kind of look at it and move on. And yeah, so did you by chance, I don't know, see people actually interacting with the art when you were there?
Yeah, totally. And just people get really excited when they're like, I can actually touch it because it's so tactile and it's textiles and we're so familiar with textiles and we know how they feel. So then to not be able to touch them is like, it just feels extra constricting maybe.
And you said that you felt that way about all your pieces, like that heart-shaped bed is kind of your masterpiece. Like what do you feel was different about that piece?
That piece, I labored on it forever. Like it took me months and months to make, like even just conceptualizing it, because I bought a new bed, and my old bed.
A new bed? What?
I bought a new bed. Yeah. So then I was like, my old bed was. They were like, oh, for $50, we'll take it to the dump, and I was like, well, actually, I kind of want it because I want to make this giant pillow, and that seems like an amazing source of filling for my pillow. And then I just like went at it and cut it apart, and it was really unexpected. I've never cut into a mattress before. I didn't know what all the layers were. It was very interesting. So it took me a long time to like figure out how I was going to actually do it. And then it just months of these steps, like making it's modular. So it comes apart. So I can ship it and drive it places. And it just, I'm really proud of it because it took me so long to make. And I really like thought it all out, planned it all out, and then executed it and just crushed it. And it's beautiful. And it's gorgeous.
Nice. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And so like kind of what led to that piece? Was there a certain vision you had from the start to make it that heart-shaped bed, or did that kind of come up?
No, I wanted to make a giant heart-shaped bed. And I don't remember when I thought of it or when I wanted to do it. I just had to do it.
So that modular piece, like, was that a planned thing, or did you decide that later on that you wanted to like need to like move this thing?
It was planned because I made this originally, this thing, and it's a beast. Like I could technically take the cover off, take the stuff out, and put it in separate bags and ship it that way, but that's like a huge pain. It kind of is just one big thing, and it's really hard to move, and it's heavy, but I wanted to make another giant pillow, but I thought I need to make this smarter so I can actually like take it somewhere and show it to other people and make it easier to store. Like it's all just in my little storage room now, packed up all nice. Whereas this thing, I just kind of have to live with it because it's just big and in the way. So I didn't want to make another big, cumbersome object. I needed to make something that I personally could move by myself if I needed to.
That makes sense. Very practical. Yeah. And that was something I was thinking about was like, you talk about like you collect plastic, other things, like do you have to like store that in a certain way to like keep it organized, or how does that, so you're not a hoarder, hopefully?
Yeah.
Do you have a process around that?
Totally, I do. And I've recently had to stop collecting so much plastic. People are always like, hey, I have this bunch of stuff, do you want it? And I've recently put a moratorium on that and been like, no, I can't, it's overwhelming. So just kind of navigating that, because it is a lot. And if you start collecting all your waste, it adds up super quickly. And I try not to create waste, and I try really hard, and I still end up creating a lot. And just encountering a lot, and just trying to like mitigate that guilt that I feel when I do throw something away. Because I see the use value in things really strongly. It's hard to turn it off.
I'm sure, yeah. Especially if you're digging into mattresses and other things. And, interesting, Yeah, I guess that, like that one performance piece that you had where you're in the ball and the plastic, just bringing awareness to people's how much plastic they're using, and it's can be overwhelming.
And I've done that. Excuse me. I've done that, across the country, super far away. So I actually got the galleries there to collect plastic from themselves, like from the people who work there and from people who go to the gallery. So kind of, shipping a bunch of plastic across the country is like super absurd. So, and I need a lot to fill that bowl.
True.
So.
Must be local, fair trade plastic.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, and we're going to stay on the theme of pillows for a little bit. There is a pillow behind us. This is pig one that says, "No, tell me about this piece." Feel free. We have an image, so you can just talk about it.
Okay. It's called "No Forever and On and On." No for me is a phrase I keep coming back to in my sculptures and in my work. I think there's so much to say no to in our society. Everyone has their own set of things they would like to say no to and maybe can't, or wish they would have said no, or, all these things. And I think it's just a phrase people can relate to. It's something I want to say to myself, like, no, it's okay to say no to things. You don't have to do everything. You don't have to collect every piece of plastic that you see because you feel bad. You can say no to that. Say no to the rampant waste. Say no to all the wars, all the hatred and bigotry in the world. It's like it's endless. So that for me is kind of that piece. Maybe you're showing a picture of it, so I don't have to keep pointing at it. But I just embroidered that with my sewing machine. And just the process of, I like to do a lot of repetitive things and like very detailed, tedious processes when I'm making my work. Typically, it's always involving this like really laborious, time-consuming thing, and it gives me a lot of time to think about everything, but kind of what I'm trying to process, usually, feelings of powerlessness or like extreme worry about the state of the world, trying to like work through that and mitigate it through creating objects. And I think this "no forever on and on" is a good example of that, because it just is like the repeating phrase on and on, almost like a mantra.
No, I'm sure it's really probably resonates with a lot of people for sure. Yeah. We have more pillows. There are many pillows to talk about. There's, I guess they're called the trophy pillows. Is that what it's called?
Well, they're called, it has kind of a long title. It's part of a series called Time I Spent, Time I Wasted.
Sure. Tell me about those pillows.
So they're on trophies, and their kind of set is called Distinguished Efforts. So I'm really obsessed with pillows. I made a whole show of only pillows, and we're on pillows. I'm planning to make more pillows. It's just like kind of, I get really into themes and things. Like I was really into garbage cans for a while. Now I'm into pillows. So the trophy pillows, Distinguished Efforts, I made the pillows, and then I was thinking of how to display them. And I just had this idea to put them on trophy bases and make them like these weird, absurd trophies. Because you see trophies at the thrift store all the time. And my mom-in-law has a dance studio for like 40 years, and she has like hundreds of trophies that are just in storage. So it's another like endless resource. And they're really cool objects. So I just really wanted to incorporate some trophy pieces because they're modular and come apart, and it's really exciting. All the little bits and bobs. A lot of what I think about is like facade and surface and superficiality, and kind of the way that decoration and textiles work within that idea. And trophies are kind of a good embodiment of that. They're like plastic coated in shiny gold, so they're like cheap and like just everywhere, but they're meant to be special. So I like them for that reason. And yeah, I just devised this really weird mounting system and put it in the pillow and put it on this trophy. And the time I spent, time I wasted is this obsession I have of doing pairs. So I make like a set of two, and I try to make them as identical as I can by hand. So there's always little imperfections, but I try to make them identical. One says time I spent and one says time I wasted. Because I think it's pretty arbitrary, like depending who's looking at what you're doing, they could think you're spending your time wisely, or they could think you're wasting your time. And sometimes I think I'm wasting my time. Sometimes I think I'm spending my time. It's like, it just depends. It's so arbitrary. I think there's a lot of different levels like interfacing with that tell you what you're doing is a waste of time, or what you're doing is like valuable. You can be doing the same exact task, but depending when you're doing it, it can be valued completely differently. So that's what that series is about, and I've made probably like 7 iterations of it. And I plan to make more. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah. And I mean, that's, yeah, I'm sure that resonates with, yeah, a lot of people. It's time they've spent or time they've wasted. And yeah. Even just, yeah, societal expectations or others. There's so many things there that, yeah. Oh, wow, yeah. Even, I don't want to go back too far to it, but even the trophies thing, right? Thinking about that. Even how, like that's something maybe, yeah, it's superficial, but maybe that's something like special for someone, but it's not special for you because it was their trophy, it was their accomplishment. And, yeah, because correct me if I'm wrong, but like some of your work also is around like, you know, the kind of the stories behind those things, or you're interested in that, right?
Yeah, I'm really interested in material history and like the way that objects can kind of contain histories, and like we can tap into it, even if it's all in my head when I look at something and I just can imagine like a whole life that it's had, or even just the life it's had in its own creation, like the raw materials that were mined out, and then they were made in a factory, and then they were shipped somewhere and sold in a store and purchased and used and then discarded to the thrift store. And then, you know, it's like endless. You can think any object anywhere can be kind of like this endless source of wonder to me. Even something stupid like a little junky piece of plastic from the end of a balloon. It's like, oh, okay, well, that's something someone designed, someone made, someone bought, someone used. It has value and it has history. So it's fun to think about.
Absolutely, yeah. Nice, yeah. Yeah, I think that is all the time we have for this segment. It's very short.
Yeah.
We can't talk too long about pillows, but I know you talk forever. But
yeah.
It's been a really great to learn a bit about your artistic practice and see what you do. So yeah, thanks so much for the conversation, Arianna.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so this has been the TELUS Storyhive on location here in Lethbridge at McNally Community Centre. I'm Michael. I make short films and podcasts about environmental stuff. And this is my co-host.
I'm Daniel J. Perriman, local theater and filmmaker, and this has been
Arianna Richardson. I make pillows in Lethbridge.
There we go. Thanks so much for watching.
If you or someone you know has a story to tell, scan this QR code and get in touch with the Storyhive On Location team.